Sports are such an important and integral part of our lives. Our next guest is dedicated to the health and well-being of all athletes and has a special interest in helping active and retired female athletes. My daughter Roma is a high school athlete. She does cross country and track, and as a mom, I know how much I worry about her taking proper care of herself, eating right, exercising right, and basically being in the best shape she can be to play. We're so excited to have Dr. Gregory Charlap joining us to share his knowledge and his experience with us.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you were an athlete yourself, right?
I'll take that as a compliment, but no, I work out regularly in the gym, and
Okay.
I started that, I guess, in high school, but I never really was that great in sports, which is sort of ironic because I'm a big champion of other people doing it.
So how did your interest in sports and then in women's sports come to be?
Well, I tell you, it took an unusual turn. For many years, I'm an anesthesiologist, you could tell. I work now. I'm
You're in between surgeries,
and,
that's right.
and so I worked for many years at a large medical center in California. And eventually I thought, I want to do other things. And, we were talking before the show, I love what you're doing with the media stuff, and you're helping so many people in so many ways. And I like that too. And so I moved down to Beverly Hills. And when I was in Beverly Hills, I reconnected with the athletes and alumni that I was friends with at UCLA. And I also connected with the whole plastic surgery scene in Beverly Hills, which is a big thing out there, as you can imagine.
I can imagine.
What I learned was that athletes don't actually get the sort of care that you would think as a layperson they would get. Yeah, if they tear an ACL, there's someone there to help them. But in terms of recommending nutrition, diet, sleep, wellness, and lifestyle, it doesn't really happen. And so I realized that there was a huge need for this, and it's something that I've always loved. I was one of those people that always watched what I ate, and I would always tell people, don't eat this, don't eat that. And
But
I
why?
realized that this is just the kind of thing athletes need.
I'm sorry, you're focusing though on female athletes, correct? And why is that?
Right. So that actually came about, I started working with athletes overall. And what we discovered is that even more so than sort of male athletes, women athletes are very underserved. And women athletes have a lot of particular needs that just aren't addressed typically. When you talk about nutrition, it's almost always sort of male-oriented nutrition, or maybe some general nutrition advice.
Interesting.
But people rarely say, what are the nutritional needs of women athletes? What are the emotional needs of women athletes? It doesn't come up. And when you look at women athletes, they have so much more on their shoulders than the typical male athlete does. They have to worry about hormones and their periods. Many women have to decide, am I going to delay having children because of my athletic career?
Wow, interesting.
Many women take care of their parents.
You never think of that. I guess you never thought of that. Yeah.
Is that the genesis of the Empowering Women Sports Conference?
Exactly. That was where it all came from. And we just realized that women are very underserved. If you pick up any kind of magazine about athletes or whatever, it hardly ever talks about the needs of women athletes.
Right.
There are topics that are almost taboo, but are important. Like, should you delay having kids for your sports career? What do you do if you are caring for your parents, but you're also trying to go to practice? Like, how do you manage those things? And women really have a lot of responsibility.
And then it's different in different ages, as athletes are in their high school years and college years, competing afterwards. And then as they're just women are ex-athletes or whatever you want to call them, they're trying to stay in shape and stay healthy. There's all different stages that have to be taken into account.
Exactly. And women change so much during the different stages of their lives. When they're younger and they're going through puberty, that has tremendous effects on their ability to play sports and their mental and emotional health. And then as they're adults, they have to sort through things like parenthood, when to be parents. As they get older, they have to worry about things like caring for older relatives. And then there are a lot of issues that women have to focus on that are even surprising that athletes have to focus on, like osteoporosis and other issues that, as you say, they change a lot with age.
So tell us about your books.
So I've written a couple books. The first book I wrote is called Why Doctors Skip Breakfast. And
I found that fascinating title. Yeah.
That came about from Beverly Hills, and what I found both at Beverly Hills and when I was at the major hospital I worked at is that nobody ate breakfast. So I looked into this and I realized it's all this whole anti-aging medicine. And I researched it. One of my best friends, who's an oncologist, he said, oh yeah, there's this whole thing, anti-aging medicine. I mean, I'm sure you talk about this in your show all the time, but I realized it's a real thing and that there are a lot of steps we could take to slow down the aging process. And so my first health book was really about the different things we could do to slow aging down so we could stay healthy until later in our lives.
And
The
what
second
would
book,
that
which is
be?
the one I'm on now, is about girls'
Well,
sports.
we only have a short time left, but in that time, just boil it down to what those things are.
Well, for anti-aging, the best things I recommend are fasting. If you're not a senior, I recommend fasting for at least 16
Wow.
hours a day. Make sure you get at least 8 hours of sleep a night. Have good dental hygiene because that causes
There
inflammation.
you go.
And and I would take something called NMN or NR. Those are probably some of my favorite tips. And I have a plant-based diet.
So
Wow.
where can our viewers find out more about you, and where can they find your books?
You can visit me at GregoryCharlopMD.com, GregoryCharlopMD.com. I'm also active on LinkedIn, and my books are available on Amazon.com.
Well, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
We have to take a short break, but there's so much more of Finding the Good Life to come. So stay with us.
Who would have thought me skipping breakfast would have
Well,
now I'm
you're ahead of your time. See that?
No.